I wonder, you think we'll get through it any faster this time?
No.
No? Alright. Well, I'm not sure if I'm going to put all these together into one big thing, or if you, the listener, watcher, whatever, are seeing it for the second time. We'll find out. But either way, it's another day, and our second go at this, because there are far too many questions. I do think it's kind of hilarious. Like, just... Sorry?
There are far too many questions. That's life.
Yeah, well, that's true. I was just thinking it's kind of hilarious how all of these are just a 7-point scale, or a 6-point scale on agree to disagree.
Yeah, there's far more nuance in the answers you can give to any of them.
Yeah. I think either of us could write an essay on any fucking question. So, we'll start off nice and easy and simple. Maybe I'll fold this a bit. A bit of folio work going on in there.
Before we do...
ASMR. Yes?
Before we do, like, the whole idea of surveys like this, it's trying to reduce the diversity of a population down to a set of metrics, and that can never be sufficient.
You're saying the statistics aren't representative enough, no matter how many people they question.
Well, to represent an individual, you need essentially their life story. You can strip out a lot of that into sort of representative descriptors, but you need to know someone in order to represent them. And any statistical analysis, any survey is only going to be a very vague shadow of a representation of that individual. And you're trying to look at patterns within the population, and there's going to be some useful correlations you might find, or some trends, but the ways individuals can differently interpret questions, the ways that they could interpret it the same way but answer the same way for different reasons. It's like, there's that quote, there's lies, damn lies, and statistics. The statistics being the worst, because you can make them say almost anything you want to.
Yeah.
Unless you're very, very careful with them. And
I think it's hard to tell when you've got it right, too. Like, a lot of the questions, we skipped the whole first page, which was sort of the Big Five questionnaire. And, you know, they do these population level studies. They ask, I don't know how many thousands of people, hundreds of thousands perhaps, a set of questions. And then they're extracting out answers to different questions that they didn't ask based on the ones that they did. Which, well, one, you have the problem of interpretation of the question on the, surveyed side. And then you have the researcher who can then interpret it how they like and tell whatever story they want to tell with that data. And now all of a sudden it has legitimacy because there's data points behind it.
A prime example of that is the repeatability crisis in psychology, that landmark psychology studies that founded careers they tried to replicate them years down the line, and they couldn't. So that was a fluke.
It wasn't specific to psychology, though, was it? So
no,
social
it wasn't.
Sciences in general?
Yeah. So psychology is the one that comes to mind, but I think I was trying to refer to social sciences in general. Like, there is also issues in many other branches of science, but social studies, that whole field of studying humans and how we interact in a psychological sense, is so subjective to the individual in the circumstances that it's most difficult to replicate. And so that's where the replication crisis shows up the most strongly. And
it's easiest to manipulate for those who are looking to make a headline by saying, oh, if I correlate this thing with that thing, and then say people are like this, then I'll get attention, regardless of whether it's true.
How much does it take to prime your participants in the study? Do you put the advertisements on the university campus for the volunteers in a particular location, right beside the engineering block versus right beside the arts block? Yeah. You're going to get a very different cohort.
Yeah, and like with all the questions in this one that are all about pride in one's own race, which is ridiculous. How are you going to interpret all of those questions? Like, are they going to publish the list of questions and say the average person responded this way from this group? Like, in what way you're presenting the data? Because if you have raw data for this question, these are the answers we got for the different groups that we divided out based on the big five or racial group or age or whatever. And then you can look at it all those ways, which is useful. I get that. But you could tell any other story you want with it as well. You could just pull out all of those questions, put them in a big category and go, white New Zealanders racist, yes, no. And tell that story, and like, data has proven. And you could, with these questions, if that is the axe you are wanting to grind.
So there's definitely a value to gathering statistics, but it can be overused. Like saying how many people... what would it be? How many people have experienced a break-in in the past 12 months? Like, that's useful statistics because it's a yes-no thing. You can certainly go down further, like what security measures do you take? What neighbourhoods do you live in, and so on? What general areas?
How much do you fear a break-in?
Yeah. Do you spend all day obsessing over it, and then suddenly you find some evidence of a break-in, and it blows up into a massive thing in your head when it was actually just a cat that came in through the window and left the same way?
I feel like that opens a door that we shouldn't explore today, but there's something... I don't know, it just seems like an interesting thought pattern, one, an example, two, to explore, but maybe we'll do that another day.
Yes. Yeah, I feel like that's a good segue. Let's dive into it.
All right.
Unless you have other
do
things
our questions. We've had a wee introduction. Welcome, or if we did put them all together, I don't know, it's a different day to us, so give us a break. Number 1 for today. I am satisfied with my life. What do we got? We should do the scale. We just sort of used the words last time. It is a 1 for strongly disagree and a 7 for strongly agree, 4 being neutral. I am satisfied with my life.
5 for me personally.
That seems low. That'd be 3 out of 10. I want a girlfriend. Okay, all right. Fair.
Yeah, I do feel like recently I've been sort of bemoaning slightly the fact that I feel pulled in 5 different directions, one of which is personal hobbies, 2 of which is sort of hobbies that involve a commitment to other people.
You have a lot of hobbies. But then you don't have entertainment. You don't entertain yourself. Like, you don't do TVs or movies or games. None of that.
Yeah. So I'm odd in my ways, but it's like childcare and work are both time intensive, and I've been seeing the lack of personal progress in getting better at work, like just in the sense of being more efficient, being faster, being better at tracking hours and those sort of things. Like, I'm only working 4 hours a day because of parenting responsibilities, and so I can't upskill in that same way. I can't get into the same groove.
Boy, that would be a dream. You only work 4 hours a day?
And then I come home, pick up the son, and it's like the work doesn't end, but the...
Well, okay, yeah, fair. 1. But also, you probably don't make that much at the end of the week.
Yeah, but my frugality helps to balance that out.
That was going to be my next point, is that that doesn't matter too much to you in particular.
yeah. Like I make enough to meet my needs with a bit left over.
That's good.
Yeah, but I don't have a bunch of subscription things. I don't drink. I don't gamble. don't. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't buy things for yourself. You're actually
Some
able to save your
things.
money. I am incapable of that.
Which is an interesting contrast.
In fairness, I have money in my account right now that's more than $1,000 that I haven't spent, which is new for me.
Well done.
And I feel no desire to do it, which is interesting. I don't know. I'm about to turn 27, so I'm aging out of that male aggressive phase or whatever. Maybe it's got something to do with that. Who knows? I'm getting old.
Back to the question, like, are you satisfied with your life? What is that testing for? What is it that affects the outcome?
It could be a general question on how New Zealanders feel about living in New Zealand. Or how their experiences are at the moment.
Like, there'd be a relatively steady background signal to it on the neuroticism personality trait, but then on top of that you'd have the environmental influence.
Yeah, so you'd be able to control for neuroticism and then factor that out and then go based on personality proclivities. Most people are this affected by things in their life. I'd say either a 5 or a 6 for me, between the two of them. 1 to 7 doesn't feel like enough digits. Maybe we should do 1 to 10. Just because that's easier to understand. I have some issues, my work life, but my home life's great. So at least I got one half.
Yeah.
And I'm always going to be thankful for that. My wife's really grown into an amazing person in the last year or so. Last few months, 6 months or so in particular. And it's really been helping me as I'm starting to deal with more problems as I get older. Realising I'm not all as put together as I thought. So that's quite helpful. So I'd say, yeah, I'll go with 6 and give credit there.
Good.
Okay. 2. When I look at the world, I do not see much to be grateful for. So they'd be targeting environment specifically.
I wonder if they're using priming within the question as part of the test. Like, how primed are you? 'Cause wasn't there one about being grateful previously?
Probably.
Yeah, like, so if you
There's
ask
multiple versions of each question.
Yeah.
And that way they can extract out an attitude from several questions rather than it just being based on one question, which could be interpreted many ways. Big 5 tests do this. They'd have like 5 different ways of asking you how comfortable are you saying no. And there's like 5 different versions of it. And it's so they don't get the effect of a wrong interpretation skews the data. But at the same time, you could dig down on that and go, well, for this specific one, say compared to the satisfied with my life, it's specifically about the world outside of you. Whereas the satisfied could be internal to you.
Yeah, yeah. So I would... what would it be? It would be a 2 out of 7. That there's...
Oh, yeah, because it's a negative.
Yeah, so double negatives. Yeah, so it's like 2 out of 7 that there's little to be
I'd
grateful
agree.
for in the world. Yeah.
Yeah. We're sort of not 100% happy, but most of the way. There's a lot to be grateful for.
Yeah, yeah. Hot running water.
Yeah, electricity. Yeah.
Yeah. Dentists. Recent thing I had to take advantage of, and it's like, yeah.
Me too.
Toothache.
Actually.
Yeah. I haven't experienced it, but toothache is not to be laughed at.
Yeah, I had that over the last few days. Massive amounts of painkillers and antibiotics for me at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, surgery incoming. I went to the dentist to get my tooth ripped out because it was quite sore, and he just kept, the whole time he was drilling into the tooth, he was like, this is bad, oh my god, look at that. Talking to the nurse, look at that, oh no. And then at the end he's like, I can't take that out, I'm sorry. I'm not skilled enough, you need to go to a surgeon. Yay, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
So fun times for me ahead. Still grateful for the world because there are dentists. Even though one dentist made a horrible blunder, I found another dentist who was telling me about what a horrible blunder it was while he was trying to fix the tooth that he blundered. So, some of them are good.
Yeah. It's better than ripping your own teeth out with pliers out of sheer agony.
It was tempting for a while, but no, I didn't do that. Emergency dentist hotline is a great hack, by the way, for New Zealanders. If you can't get a appointment booked, there is an emergency dentist, and you can get one that day or the next day every time. Yeah. Generally, there's like a small surcharge, but I don't care. If I need the dentist today, I need it today. Okay. Number 3. I feel a great pride in the land that is our New Zealand.
That's an interesting way of phrasing that.
Yeah, it feels very designed by committee, that question. That they had to throw in a few extra words to make it more inclusive of a question, I guess. I feel a great pride in the land that is our New Zealand.
Well, I guess it also refines it down to, it's not referring to an individual person's property, it's referring to the physical country itself rather than the cultural country or nation.
Yeah, I feel like you're always going to have a little bit of the cultural baked into that, but yeah. That's pretty high for me. I like this country. It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
I definitely like the country, I agree. It's just like...
Pride?
Pride feels like a different thing. Not
but
the way
it's possessive. Yeah. I feel proud to be a New Zealander. Maybe. But yeah, I feel pride in the land that is our New Zealand.
I'd go for 6 because not that I disagree with the idea of having pride in our country and the land, but it's like that's not how I think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I would feel proud to be a part of it. But I don't know if I feel proud for dirt or mountains in and of themselves. It's a weird way of phrasing. It would be either a neutral for me or, like you say, probably about a 6.
Yeah, it would be...
Or a 7, to be honest. New Zealand's pretty awesome geography.
We'd need to spend 10 minutes diving into it to try and get to the bottom of that, because I feel like there's more, but let's carry on.
We'll go then. Number 4. Oh, brutal. There are people I can depend on to help me if I really need it.
Strongly agree.
That's good. I'd say a medium agree. But that's going to be a brutal one for statistics. Because I think a lot of people are going to go, no, I have no one. It'll all be men. Yeah. It'll all be men who answer no one.
Yeah, I remember there's a few things I've seen like that. What was it? Girl asks the internet, guys, who do you go to when you need help, when you're at your most desperate? And a whole lot of guys
40 clips of men going, literally no one. I've never had anyone ask me if I was okay. I think it ends with a clip of a guy saying that the suicide hotline hung up on him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's move on. Number 5. Women exaggerate problems they have at work. My brain immediately goes to follow-up question. Exaggerate to who? Is this like complaining to HR exaggerate, or is this going home and complaining to your partner exaggerate? Because those are very different things. One's making more problem than is true. One is just like venting.
Yeah, and like going home and complaining to your partner about it, that's... Yeah, that's perfectly normal and fine.
Yeah.
Exaggerating... I feel like venting is in a different category. Like
I think we should take the question level, as the work side of like exaggerating as in causing a fuss at work, effectively.
I disagree with some of the phrasing. Like, I think that to tar all of female kind with the same brush is wrong in a technical sense.
Yeah.
In a moral sense, but it's like, do some women exaggerate problems they have in the workplace? Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
False rape accusations are a thing.
Yeah, well, reputation destruction is female aggression.
Yeah.
Yeah, so naturally women will exaggerate problems in the work more than men. Doesn't mean that any particular woman should be judged as though she's doing so. But there is going to be a tendency there. Just like men are more likely to resort to physical violence.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Apologies.
So, yeah, I'd put a 5 on that. So I agree, not strongly, but there's a signal there in the data.
Yeah. I'd say so. I think that question is probably the are you prejudiced against women question. But it's like, okay, but it's true. What's that meme? Why are you booing me? I'm right.
Let's go, Brandon.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw a clip.
Can't even make fun of him anymore. He's not even. He's not present. He's disappeared into his spirit realm.
Yeah, there was a thing I saw, what was it? American news channel brings on 3 people. One of them's pro-Trump, one's anti-Trump, one's middle of the road, who had come out saying, Trump has gone too far over January 6th. We can never support him again after this. And so he came out in this interview when they came around to ask him his question. It's like, no, I'm going for Trump. Because as bad as January 6th was, and he, by the sounds of it, subscribed to the official narrative of how bad it was. So as bad as it was, he had a list ready that he was itching to say, but he wasn't allowed to say, of all the attacks on democracy that he'd seen the Biden-Harris ones do, and it was interesting to see the flip-flop, and the host was rather shocked and quickly moved on.
Did you see the VP debate?
I've heard a little about it. I haven't watched any clips of it.
I can see why he picked him as VP.
Okay.
He will be Trump's replacement after he's gone. Like, no question. That dude is on it like I've never seen. He's better than Trump in the debate.
Yeah, so Trump's bombastic businessman decided to be president. Is Vance an actual leader? Yeah, okay.
I wasn't sure, like, because I'd never heard of him. And then, he goes up on that stage and he just wipes the floor with them the whole time.
Yeah.
And with the moderators. And he rejects the premise of questions.
Oh, yes.
He killed it the whole time. If Trump gets in office, he'll be the one running in 2028 to carry on the movement. And he's the right one. I am dead set on that. I see why he picked him. Anyway, back to New Zealand.
Yep.
Number 6, protecting New Zealand's native species should be a national priority.
Relative to what?
There you go. Trade-offs. Is it number 1 priority or number 1,000? Which? A national priority. I mean, yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, 4.
We got dock workers.
It's like it should be on the list, but it's like, hypothetically, I think that a navy off the coast about to invade would be a higher priority. And I think that it should be a higher priority than safe spaces in universities, but I don't think that it'll get to that.
Yeah, I think they should get a little bit of funding to keep the native species alive. Or whatever. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
I don't see much of a problem with that. Doesn't mean you go totalitarian with it and start, I don't know. You can always go too far with things, but yeah, I don't see no problem with putting some tax money towards keeping them alive. National priority? The word priority bugs me there, so maybe slightly disagree.
Yeah, I think where we are is probably okay, so I'll just leave it at that. It's not screwing up things entirely. It's sort of working, so it's
just sort of neutral maybe. Okay. I haven't read this one yet. Number 7. By taking an active part in political and social affairs, we, the people, can control world events.
There's nuance that needs to be in the answer.
Alright, well, what's your nuance?
Can control world events. Like, that implies that through political involvement, we can be the ones deciding what happens, when no individual gets to decide that unless the entire population makes them a dictator or gives them equivalent political force. Right? There's no control here. It is all a negotiation. You can influence, and the more you put in effort...
Influence would be the right word, yeah.
Yeah.
I think...
I'd mildly disagree.
Let's assume the best in the question, By taking part in political and social affairs, we the people have influence in world events. Effectively, is there actually a democratic process? Do you believe in the system? Or is it a farce?
And we're a small country.
What, meaning one individual has more influence? So you mean?
Meaning that even the Prime Minister of New Zealand doesn't have an enormous impact on world affairs.
It does say world events, yeah. I don't know. Let's make it basic.
We can't control the war on terror. We can't control the outcome of the Ukraine conflict. We can't...
We have troops there.
Control it. Yeah. Yeah, we can have that level of influence.
Okay, well, do you think you, as part of the populace, have control or influence on world events through politics or social affairs? And social affairs.
Three out of 7.
Not yes, but checked. Or no. But mildly no. What do you mean?
Mildly no.
Okay. I'd like you to expand on that. What do you mean? When?
It's an individual question. It's a question to an individual. My impact and influence on world affairs as an individual is infinitesimal. It's not 0. And the more you try to exert it and develop competency in fleshing out that vision, the more you can have an influence. Jordan Peterson is one individual who has a massive influence on a lot of people. So it can definitely grow, but I, as an individual, have not much.
Okay,
I
let's
have a
break
few
this.
votes.
Let's break this question in half. Politically, influence and control. If you said, how would you say this? Do you believe you have as much influence and control over the political system through your vote as you are made to believe, as the prevailing narrative says you do?
No.
Why?
The prevailing narrative, I think, in some ways is a necessary lie. Like, the idea that every vote counts was like, sort of, but it's like every piece of paper in the mountain counts towards making that mountain bigger than that mountain. But that doesn't mean every piece of paper is important. You need to make it significant enough for individuals to contribute, otherwise apathy leads to nothing happening. But at the same time, the individual influence is minuscule. But it's more of a responsibility to contribute your vote to the pile.
So you're saying that your influence is low due to emergent factors?
Due to sheer scale.
What I mean is a natural consequence of the system rather than suppression or manipulation.
A little bit of both. Like, humans are not perfect. There is corruption in every human system. Checks and balances constrain that. And New Zealand is known to be very good at having low corruption, or known to have very little corruption compared to many other countries. It's less who you know in New Zealand than elsewhere. Knowing the right person can still have a massive impact. But bribes are very rare. So I would say that
politically, aren't we?
Yeah, the Overton window is.
No, I mean like transparency.
Oh, in that sense.
The politicians don't feel that far away. They feel pretty close. And easier to access and less guarded and less...
Yeah. I remember, what was it? We had a politician coming in to look at the steam engine we're working on at work, and... who was it? One of the guys there... I'm trying to remember precisely who it was, but someone, I think, from South Africa, one of two people there, was like, they just came by themselves. There wasn't an entourage. There wasn't a security detail. It was like this politician who's in the parliament of the country showed up at the door with an assistant, or one guy, and then they walked around, they had a chat, and then they drove off.
Yeah, I mean, I've met 6 or 7 politicians in my life just through random chance. Like, I served a guy at a restaurant. I had a family friend who was an MP. I've come across some at just like sausage sizzles and stuff and events on the street. No bodyguards or nothing. I went to events, obviously political events, and they're there. Not security walking through the crowds. You can talk to them. They're just people. You met John Key once. Now, he had some security. but not a
Yeah.
lot. Just a little bit. And there was cameras and stuff, but I don't know. It seems pretty
Yeah.
easy to bump into them around the place.
Yeah, I remember that Jenny Shipley came to the local community hall when I was a kid.
Don't know who that is.
The first female prime minister, she got the job because the guy who she was second in command, and the guy who was in charge lost the job halfway through the term.
Oh.
I forget the precise details, but she was the first. I think before Helen Clark.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought it was Helen, but I guess not.
Helen was the first elected one, I believe.
Yeah, well, that makes her the first real one, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get it on technicalities. It's like saying Kamala's the first female president.
Yeah.
Kinda. She's acting president. I'll say that.
Yeah, sort of. She's acting.
Unofficially. Yeah, she is acting. And she is the acting president, but,
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah.
So you're not full black pill. You're a little bit black pilled, but and a little bit emergent phenomenons having a dampening effect on ability to change things. But there's still some influence. Good balance take, I think.
Yeah, sort of clouded white. Like, generally it's pretty damn good.
Grey.
And light grey, yeah.
Light grey.
Yeah. If you look at
I actually quite like
World...
this scale of greyness. 50 Shades of Grey for white to black pilled.
Oh, there was a book published called 50 Shades of Grey that got sued out of existence, and each page is a different shade of grey. So it was
I think I heard about that. Yeah, it was a grayscale. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it's like our democracy is pretty damn good by global and historical standards, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise. But
I'm pretty happy about that.
Human and fallible, and I'm not going to pretend that's not the case either. But I definitely pick this over a lot of other systems.
We have a really good culture when it comes to politicians. I do have to say that. Like 7 Days is an amazing example. I don't know if you watched that show when you were younger.
No.
When you started watching the new seasons. It's great. It's a comedy show where it's based on the news of the week, and it's two teams of 3 comedians who are taking the piss out of each other and the news stories and, the people involved in them, and just coming up with crap, on the fly. And one of the segments is, I think, Yes Minister, and they bring in a parliament member and put him on a chair, and he is not able to say yes or no. So he has to make, politician statements, answers to everything. And then the comedians get to ask him questions. And they're not wearing gloves for that. Like, they go after them. And the politicians keep coming on the show. And it's all in good spirits.
Yeah.
And people on that show, the comedians themselves, have differing political views, but they don't... Like, they do beat up on the parties a bit, but it all is in... What do you say? In good jest?
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah,
we don't have that... We don't have that horrible division that the States have. I really don't think that the Labour voters hate National voters, and I don't think the National voters hate Labour voters. Not like...
No, it's...
the States.
Yeah. It's the... So we've still got, to a large degree, that idea that... What's it? I think this is the best thing for the country. And I think these political parties will deliver it, and I'm quite certain of that. You think that this is the best thing for the country, and you think that these political parties will deliver that. I disagree with you, but you both know that you think this is best, and you think this is best. You're not saying, you're evil. No, you're evil. It's like,
there's none of that.
Yeah.
I mean, like, occasionally we get a little story pop up of, like, oh, someone said racist comment or whatever. Headlines. But that's not the culture, prevailingly. And I think that's honestly great.
Yeah. There is
like,
a dark
wasn't it
undercurrent
during the coronation? The Prime Minister that won, which is right-leaning individual, took the Prime Minister that ran for election and lost on the left-leaning side with him on the plane. And they were, like, chatting and having drinks, and they got dinner together, and they went over and attended the service. That would never happen in the States. Ever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and these people are like, no, be friendly.
Yeah.
We're both trying to do this. And that's not a sign of, uniparty. That's a sign of respect.
Yeah.
And civility.
Yeah,
honor.
so I will shout insults at you across the hall
and they
tomorrow, but today...
They went at each other pretty hard in the debates too.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I think that shows integrity and character. And I really appreciate that in a politician.
Yeah,
particularly
it's like you're in a
being
boxing
willing to
match.
just talking to people.
Yeah. It's like if you're in a boxing match and someone gives you a good solid punch and you feel all woozy, you don't go, "You punched me, how dare you?" It's like, "That was a good shot. I'm going to punch you back as hard as I can."
Yep. Yeah, and then I'll pass you the sugar and milk when we have coffee later.
Yeah.
Yeah, no hard feelings. No, I really like it.
Have an ice pack.
Yeah, like during election season, not this one, but the one before, I was in the city, and I think it was some kind of sausage sizzle event, and the opposing parties came, the politicians, both of them, and they were milling around and talking to people and talking to each other, and their staff was there, and everyone was like eating food and having a good time. There was no hostility at all, and you could go up and talk to one of them, and they'd talk to you. You go up and talk to the other, and they'd talk to you. That is, these are people that care about their constituency and care about their country and trying to do a good job and trying to get along.
Yeah, and the way that minor parties can have a somewhat outsized influence, like if you get 5% of the vote as a party, you're in Parliament and you've got votes and you can contribute to forming the government. It could be argued that they have a disproportionate influence and can cause problems, but at the same time, if you get 5% of the vote, you can get new ideas in there. If you get one electorate seat, same thing, you get one seat in Parliament. You can get new ideas in there. So the number of people that you have to convince to be behind a particular idea set, a particular ideology is the wrong word, perspective. The number of people you have to get behind a particular political perspective to get you a voice at the table
broadens it,
is
particularly
relatively
with
small.
the coalition forming. I mean, you had that in the first election for me, a few years back, where you had the Labour side, which is left-leaning, and then you had the Greens and was it the NZ First Party that made agreements and formed a government? NZ First Party regretted giving the power over because he was in the kingmaker position. You could have chose which way. And then the time more recently, this year, you had the other way around where the Libertarian Party, which hadn't existed before, got formed, got in the previous cycle, and got in again this time with more votes and had to form a coalition with the right-leaning side of the party. So rather than having a single party running the ship, you have mostly a single party with a little bit of libertarian philosophy thrown in, because they have to somewhat agree.
And even if it's mostly for show that you've got this little party and you need them to make up the numbers, but you're most of that side, it's like, well, you're not in charge, but we've got to pay lip service to you. And we've got to give you the odd bone.
Even having them around is going to influence ideas somewhat, because they're going to be a voice at the table for discussions. They're going to be discussing ideas in some committee, and that person's going to throw in an idea and may influence things. May only influence it 1 or 2 or 5%, which is basically what their seat is anyway. But that's what the people wanted.
Yeah, and then from that it gives you a great ability to, if you can get in the debate, you can get your voice heard, and then you can climb an influence on the merits of yourself and your arguments.
It'd be kind of great if you needed a super majority and not just a majority, because then you have more voices in the argument. Anyway, we should probably move on.
Yeah.
That was good though. I like that. Number 8. Jeez, making great progress. Women, compared to men, tend to have a greater moral sensibility.
Okay, I'm trying to genuinely consider it because first impulse is just pure neutral. It's like it's not a gender thing.
Sex. But I don't understand what moral sensibility is.
Yeah, good point.
Like, what does that mean? Is the autism in me showing? I don't know. What is moral sensibility? Is that just being moral? Is that what it means?
I guess so.
So women, compared to men, tend to be more moral, is the question then. Oh, that's... okay. Is either of the sexes more moral than the other?
I think stereotypically, or if you look at a population size average, I think that women would tend to claim that more. They would tend to claim moral superiority. Like, how many guys just
I don't think that that's a might or a little bit. I think that's a lot.
Yeah, but that's... But then again, how much do you see the Karens of the world claiming that? And
okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and answer the question. Women compared to men tend to have a greater moral sensibility. I want to disagree just on principle. Because I'm pretty tired of the women are incapable of evil argument. I get pretty sick of that. Women do horrible, horrible things all the time. To each other, to their kids, and to men. And I'm not saying men don't do horrible things too, but I don't know, there's something really toxic about this which is worse thing.
There's been an interesting swing over the past few centuries in that too. Like, if Waterfault was pointing out that if you go back a number of centuries, 2 centuries probably, before votes for women, the perspective was very different. It was the psychological gender dimorphism was more prominently perceived, which in some senses is stating the obvious, but it was also like they are distinctly different. Like, if you cut off the tails of both of the bell curves, like, they barely overlap then, if you cut off the top and bottom 20% of each.
Right.
Especially if you put a cultural distinction in the way and encourage sort of adherence to certain stereotypes, that the idea of morality and rationality versus nurturing ability and homemaking and valuing each of those.
That's a good question. Does giving the vote to women contribute to the destruction of the distinction between men and women?
It gives a greater voice to the sense that things should be fair among all. Like, you want to treat all the children fairly.
No, that's not what I mean. I mean, men have the vote. Now we're going to give women the vote. Does that destroy the idea of difference between the two of them? Or one more step in the direction? Because I feel it as a homogenization problem. The same way we're making this argument of like all the ethnicities are exactly the same. There's no difference between men and women. These kind of arguments. we're going to give women the vote one of the first steps in that process of, actually, we're not that different, so we can both do this thing, and that's not going to make us more the same. Like, it is the effect of giving women the vote that they become more like men, or the differences decrease. Maybe men become more like women as well.
I think so, to a degree. Like, there's a... If you enhance the differences or emphasize the differences, you're emphasizing the distinct strengths as well. So you
Yes.
have strengths that are predominantly feminine, and you have strengths that are predominantly masculine. And if you assign those entirely to the category, to the gender which most typifies that, who most express that strength, then you in some sense enhance that and amplify that strength. But if you say everyone has this, then you're including everyone who's very mediocre at it.
You water it down.
Yeah, like, world's strongest man is the world's strongest person. And you know that. Like, the female strong women aren't lifting cars.
It destroys the average, though. I suppose it would be, okay, women are now going to also compete in strong person competitions, and now we're going to take the average of strong men and strong women and put them in the same bucket to draw from. Naturally, that's going to bring them closer together. To bring down the men and raise the women in that analogy. But going the other way, it will do the same effect with something women are better at.
And
That's a weird analogy.
I'm conflicted on this because I'm very much in favour of equality of opportunity. And there are women who work in the most masculine dominated industries. Not many. And because of there not being many, sometimes there will be none there. But there are women who work in the mines. There are women who work in relatively rough environments. Probably not in the roughest parts of those rougher environments. The distribution of strength still plays a role there, but I think that men should be able to be nurses and preschool teachers, and I think that women should be able to be miners and garbage truck drivers. Like, that's...
I think we should debate this another day.
Yeah. But what was the question?
Women, compared to men, tend to have a greater moral sensibility.
Neutral. 4.
I'm going to say strong disagree. Not because I think they're more evil than men, but just because I reject the question.
Because you want to pull the average back toward the middle?
I don't know if men or women are more evil. I think all human beings are capable of horrible evil. I don't like the idea of treating women as saints who can do no wrong.
Yeah, that's toxic.
Yeah, I mean, responsibility. You want equal rights, you get equal responsibility. Okay. Number 9. Yeah, we'll save the political stuff for another day, because I actually do want to do a couple of political arguments with you, because I was thinking about this the other day, that we haven't actually really done that. My wife and I were having a discussion on abortion, and like exploring the different ideas and different questions around that. And I sort of had this thought of like, I've never done this with Michael. I don't know what you think on a lot of things, and that would be quite entertaining, so maybe we'll do that another time. Anyway, Number 9. Out of 39, by the way. We're pretty not far down the page. Sometimes I can't sleep because of thinking about past wrongs that I have suffered.
Isn't this the second time this has come up?
Probably. I'm just reading them in order.
Yeah.
Strong disagree. I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. 2 to 1.
I'm not kept up from anything because I work too much, so I'm always tired. I do spend a lot of time thinking about things that I have done wrong, but not generally about what people have done to me. I don't really think about that much. Well, a little bit. Oh, here we go. Back to it. I have considered participating in demonstrations on behalf of my ethnic group.
No.
Well, neither. What demonstrations on behalf of my ethnic group? No one gives a fuck about us. I'm glad that we can just skip over one of those questions because we answered so many fucking of them the other day. 11. It is okay if some groups have more of a chance in life than others. Define groups. It is okay that if some groups have more of a chance in life than others.
How?
Yeah,
is rich parents?
Is it because of the group they're in? Or is it like emergent? Is this enforced or emergent?
Yeah. Is it you won't be allowed into university because of your skin tone, or your parents are statistically more likely to be more financially well off?
Yeah, because you could take this question both ways, couldn't you?
Yeah.
That's pretty bad. It is okay if some groups have more of a chance in life than others. So on one hand, that's the equal opportunity between races, and we don't want to discriminate opportunity of equality of opportunity. On the other hand, you can say, if you say no, it is not okay if some groups have more of a chance in life than others. If that group over there is doing bad, let's go destroy them, because you're not allowed to have rich parents who helped you in life and now you're doing better, because I don't like the idea of someone doing better than anyone else. Equality of outcome.
I reject the question. Tick all the boxes.
Yeah, agreed.
Or cross all the boxes or something. Just line through all of them. It's like no answer.
Yeah, just put asterisks on it. Equality of opportunity, strong agree. Equality of outcome, strong disagree.
Yeah.
Okay, so how about that? Based on your own interpretation of the question, answer it. Is it okay if some groups have more of a chance in life than others?
Well, like I started with, I have both interpretations, and I agree with your stating of equality of opportunity, yes, equality of outcome, no.
I'm just going to say yes. It is okay if some groups have more of a chance in life than others. Emergent,
yes, but with... You need a penny on the scales, for want of a better phrase to invent, to give people who are on the bottom through no fault of their own the chance to climb up a few rungs. That's both important for social harmony and stability, and it's moral. Like, you don't
you can't
condemn
get out
people.
Of zero, or it's very hard to get out of zero without help.
Yeah. So give. Yeah. There has to be a ladder going down.
I think that's good.
Yeah, and you can take a penny off the rich person's pile to put on the scales to give a little bit of social welfare, a little bit of, like, you're not utterly screwed financially for life because you had one accident and one medical incident.
Yeah, I do actually like social safety nets. It is funny how that's flipped. It used to be everyone was fiscally conservative and socially liberal, and now we're all like, let's have socially conservative because you guys are fucking insane. But I like fiscally liberal policies of, you know, a bit of distribution and, you know, helping the poor and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But also, God, the new right is so strange. Socially conservative, fiscally liberal when it comes to government projects and social safety nets, but also very pro deregulation. Which is kind of funny that you're like, oh, I'm pro social safety net, I'm pro projects, but I'm also anti government regulation and controlling businesses, and I want less taxes. It's like, that is a really interesting combo. It's a winning combo for running a country, but, you know, interesting. Okay.
Yep.
Next question. 12. I take care to limit what I say publicly about controversial matters due to concerns my brain put that in there. Due to concerns about negative consequences to my reputation, e.g., my career, social life, etc.
Negative consequences to my reputation? No. So I'd put a 3.
You do not limit what you say publicly about controversial matters to protect your career or social life?
I limit what I say to people to limit negative social consequences from those individuals. It's an individual I to other person thing. It's not a society at large thing. It's not my reputation. It's my relationships.
Your reputation is the idea of you in other people's heads. It's many instantiations of it, and one may collapse and not affect the others, but maybe it does.
I'm not going to misrepresent myself, but I guess limiting what I say...
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, there are lots of topics I don't broach with most people.
It does say, I limit what I say publicly about controversial matters. Not that I don't bring them up, but that maybe the idea is when they do come up, I am careful with what I say.
Okay, controversial matters. Are we talking the trans issues? I don't limit what I say about that. I don't march on the street about it, but I don't hide it either. It's like,
it's interesting.
It doesn't dominate me.
I feel like I limit this a lot, but I don't think I do. Like, I talked about it with my boss not that long ago. Turns out he watches Candace Owens, which surprised me a lot because he's boomer and not very techie at all. But he's like, oh yeah, there's that black conservative chick in the States that I watch. I'm like, Candace? I'm like, oh, I don't know. She's got a white background, crosses everywhere. Yeah, her. Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And she's very interesting. Very out there person. I feel like I kind of do, but not really. I tell my friends what I think. I say what I think when it comes up with people around me. Like, I'm a little bit cautious at first, but if I broach a thing, I'm genuinely the first person to open the door to that conversation, or to say the more extreme thing than the other person, to open the door to them feeling comfortable to say things.
Okay, I limit my discussion of controversial topics in the same way I limit my discussion of hobbies. I don't want to go abusing someone's ears with things that will just result in a negative reaction.
Yeah, if a person is interested and wants to talk about it, then yes, I will. If they're not that kind of person, then no, I won't.
Yeah, if they bring up something on that topic, I'll give my opinion, and I won't hide it.
Yeah.
But it's...
I think there's still a yes, I do limit, because I don't have my name written down anywhere searchable associated to this show. On purpose. I don't want a potential employer Googling me and coming across this. So, yes, in a sense, but personally, in people that I interact with on a daily basis, no.
Yeah, and this would count for more reputation than personal interactions in many senses.
Yeah, I suppose, because it's more general, yeah.
So yeah, taking this into account, it would be a 5 out of 7, a mild degree.
I feel like we should take this out of account, though, because most people don't have something like this. So,
yeah,
I would say
in a face-to-face context.
Mid-disagree. Mid-disagree for me. Not strongly. I do limit it a bit, but that's generally for others' benefit.
Yeah. I'd put myself on a 3 out of 7, just below neutral, because I know I have a tendency to take over conversations with enthusiasm if I don't limit myself, so that's a constant sort of... I always limit myself from... try and limit myself from doing that.
Fair enough. Alright, I think that'll do for that one. Number 13. I reckon Maori culture should stay where it belongs. With Maori, it doesn't concern other New Zealanders. Something, controversial matters, something, reputation.
No, I'm considering my answer, not hiding it.
Oh, I just thought it was funny that came right after the last one.
Yeah.
I reckon Maori culture should stay where it belongs. With Maori, it does not concern other New Zealanders.
I think it's good to celebrate Maori culture, and it's good to celebrate Pākehā culture.
Pākehā?
Yeah. New Zealand culture is distinct from British culture.
Okay, but why that word?
Because it's the word that's used in New Zealand. It's a Maori word, but how, like the...
Yeah, it does feel a little bit... Yeah. I got mixed opinions on this. In one sense, like the first half, I reckon Maori culture should stay where it belongs with Maori. I agree with that pretty well. I don't think it should be foisted upon all the others.
I think it shouldn't be forced on everyone in the way it does now, yes.
Yeah. It doesn't concern other New Zealanders. I don't know. Like, I like going to the museum and seeing a bit of European history and a bit of Maori history sort of displayed next to each other. I like that there's a canoe and a waka and an old ship from the settlers, and there's stories from both.
Yeah, and having the Maori New Year as a public holiday, it's like, yeah, sure.
Is it?
Matariki.
Ah, right. Well, there you go.
Yeah. As well as Queen's Birthday.
I think that there is a place for it. It's being pushed too much.
Yes, yeah. And a lot of the names of buildings that get gifted to them by the local tribe or whatever, they don't translate to anything useful to identifying the building. Like the name of the library doesn't usually include library in it in Maori. It's...
The thing that really bothers me is the push for the language. That really annoys me. Anyone in any affiliation with any council position or government position feels the need to introduce themselves in Maori. I hate that so much. You go and talk to someone and they say, "Haere mai," something. I'm like,
what, do you know what all those words mean?
No, I don't.
No,
but that's not the point.
Yeah.
is the point is that you have just had a diversity, inclusion, equity statement in the front of your speech, but for, Maori culture. It's like, before I tell you anything, I need to let you know that I am a big respecter of the Maori culture.
I follow the party line.
Yeah, well, that's very helpful for the thing that you're going to tell me about that has nothing to do with that. I think, honestly, if it wasn't pushed at all, it would probably be where it should be, which is a thing of interest that's taught in schools, a thing in museums that we go and look at. A bit of like, oh yeah, we have this cool culture, like here's some symbolism that we use, touristy shops sell these kinds of things and we celebrate it a little bit. You go to a cafe and the part of the word's in Maori and that's unique and that makes it interesting. But it's forced and it's everywhere and it's shoved down our throats and that makes it repulsive. If you want to make people hate Maori culture, this is the way to go. There's a way to do it that celebrates them, and I think we should celebrate Maori culture. But the point of celebrating is you have to be celebrating it.
Yes.
If it's forced, it's not a celebration. It's mouthing platitudes to something you grow to resent and despise. It can't be forced. It has to be natural. Pushing it on kids in school does not help.
Singing fun Maori songs.
Kind of agree.
Maori sing-alongs is one thing. Like, have kapahaka group. Okay, they have fun.
Yeah, but it was optional.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the kids used to do it before rugby, and I thought that was really cool, and the All Blacks do it before rugby, and that's like a tradition. That's cool.
Yeah.
Making everyone do it at assembly, not so cool. Having every teacher introduce themselves with that every day, not so cool. Having it all over the walls in every classroom to read the words while you're trying to learn English, less cool.
It's like, I grew up not liking rugby, and then I remember when I was like 6 or something, someone came in to show everyone how to do a haka, and because I didn't like rugby, I basically didn't participate. I just sort of, I don't want to do this, and they eventually put me off to the side because I wasn't contributing anything, and it's like, good, because I don't like rugby. It's like, well, it's not rugby, but it's, it's...
Good way to get yourself crucified in this country.
Well, I'm not... controversial issues. My reputation, meh. I am me.
Yeah, that is a good way to get yourself reputation damage in New Zealand, saying, I don't really like rugby. I, by the way, listener, love rugby. I have never played and will never play, but I like watching other men get themselves hurt. For my entertainment. I'm
going to say, go Team New Zealand.
Yeah, respect. We do have a cool sporting culture in this country that I like.
Yeah.
It's sort of this sort of outdoorsy, healthy attitude of we're out there doing it kind of thing.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. And I may not personally like rugby, but I still prefer if the All Blacks win. Like, I'm not anti-rugby. Like, a thing people do that's great. I'm just...
Yeah, well, if you don't enjoy watching the sport, then you don't enjoy watching the sport. Like, I don't like cricket. I don't watch cricket. I don't care about cricket.
Yeah, shock horror. People have individual preferences.
I watched rugby when I was a kid, so it has a meaning to me. I watched it with my family, and it was a thing that we did, so it's a part of my identity growing up. And now I, watch it with my wife and my kids on occasion. That makes it special. We went to one the other weekend when my mother was down from Christchurch with all the kids, and the girls were sitting there like this the whole time. Going, why are they hurting each other? My daughter's a very interesting person. But it was great. And we yell and go, go! Should we get some chips? Yeah, let's get some chips. Just milling about. It was great fun.
Yeah, Teddy, why are you cheering for them hurting each other? This is weird.
Yeah, I'm trying to, they just keep looking around at all the people. They're probably mildly autistic like me, so all the noise will be like, what am I focusing on? Everything at once. That's not helpful. So, Let me get to there.
Anyway.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, when I was a kid, we sung the national anthem, and it was first in English and then in Māori. I never thought anything about that as a kid. I liked it. In fact, I seem to remember I liked the Māori part better because I thought it sounded better. Now, when I hear it in Māori, it bothers me. Because it's shoved down our throats everywhere. Everything has to be in Māori now. Everything has to be in Māori too, not just English. It's like, I'm pretty sure Māori kids can speak English and read English, one. So don't be thinking that we need to write signs in Māori to make them be able to read. That's very racist. And B, we used to celebrate Māori culture without forcing it. And now you force it, and it makes me not want to celebrate them at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's my disagreeable nature. Yeah. But
from what I've heard, it is a group of activist types pushing it.
Shocking.
Yeah, it's not the population at large. It's a group of activist types, and most people who grew up with a Maori culture just do their thing. And it was interesting to hear Dad talk about it. He grew up in rural North Island somewhere, running around with other kids who happened to be Maori, and he was just as brown as them from spending all his time outside. And so he had some insight into the everyday life culture that they had. And then at his work a number of years ago, because he's retired now, he had they got sent on this cultural training thing where some guy came and talked about Maori culture, and Dad stood up and said it was all nonsense and walked out or something along those lines, because it was like, I grew up with them. No, that's nonsense.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like, they don't live in mud huts. They have houses with Wi-Fi and TVs and cars and...
Yeah. They like their food. They have a thing about the way they cook food. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's something to be teaching. You know, this is what they do now. This is the culture that they have now. And yeah, celebrate what happened back then, for sure. But, I don't know. Yeah. It'll be the Awfuls doing it.
The Awfuls?
I forget the acronym. I think it's like affluent white female liberals, something like that.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. What do the Chinese call them? A baiswa? It's I think it means white left.
Yeah. The Karens.
Basically, yeah.
The awful Karens.
Yeah, I am so rich, and everyone in my gated community is white and rich, and they're all married, or they all have kids, and their kids all go to college. But all these poors, all these browns who don't know what they're doing, need my help. So I will help them because they are not capable of being married or going to school or reading. Thank you for looking down on everyone. Was that study that you talked about a while back of people of that background, or wealthy Liberal voters in general, tend to speak down to... I don't like the word minorities, but we'll use that. Speak down to them and talk simpler. It's like, wow, that's... Yeah, there you go. Right there. Okay. 14. There are too many immigrants living in New Zealand.
Where are we setting the clock for this? Like, if we go back 1,000 years, immigrants is all humans. If we go back 1,000,000, immigrants is all plants and animals.
I'd say the clock's probably set in 1950. Even 1980, maybe.
If we talk about first generation immigrants...
Yeah.
Yeah, so people who have come to New Zealand to try and build a better life for themselves. Oh, that's assuming motive.
I think we have one of the highest percentages of New Zealanders not being born in New Zealand.
But because we're an immigrant country in many ways, we can handle more of an influx than a more static country.
Maybe. Perhaps our geography and location imparts a stronger sense of culture onto the people who come here. Making assimilation easier. Doesn't really matter where you're from. Coming to New Zealand is kind of an ordeal. And
though my ex-wife was Chinese, and that gave me a glimpse into the fact that there are quite a few people who don't know how to speak English in New Zealand.
Disavow.
Sorry?
Disavow. I don't like that. I'd say all of those people are too many immigrants. I don't have a problem with immigrants. I really don't. I have a problem with people who don't assimilate.
A longer view comes to mind, taking into account the, what do you call it? The demographic decline that's endemic to cities throughout history. Like, where do the immigrants live?
Oh, jeez. I hadn't considered that before. That's dark, man. That is quite dark.
And who lives in the country? The Pākehā and the Maori.
I have not seen more children in the past 10 years than I saw at the rugby game that I went to last Sunday.
What age were the players? Was it adults or kids?
No, it was adults.
Okay.
It was the local team playing against a different local team from Waikato, I think.
With families coming out to cheer.
And it was just, kids everywhere.
Yeah.
Absolutely everywhere. And not like one age group. All up and down. From babies. There was a bunch of babies. I saw more kids there than I did at the Baby Expo in Christchurch that we travelled to go to. Way more. Like, half the people there were kids. It was all families or teenagers that brought themselves running around. Oh, and they were all white too. Everyone on the field, everyone in the stands, everyone everywhere.
I think there's a bit... there are regions of New Zealand where the rural population is much more Maori than in others.
I think it's North Island more, right?
Yeah, like in some senses, the further north you go, it seems like the more the rural population is Maori dominated. How do I say that without sounding?
I moved the very bottom of New Zealand.
Yeah.
Oh, that was not intentional.
Yeah, I say that from going to visit relatives who live up in the north of the North Island.
Well, it is colder down here. I don't know if that has any... No, something white people from cold places. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't really know if there are too many immigrants in New Zealand. I have concerns about degradation of culture and immigration. When I have been to cities, I feel that way. A bit. Sort of looking around and seeing a lot of people that don't look like me and hearing a lot of languages that aren't English. I don't like that. Like, at least speak English, please, in public. But
At least be able to
Yeah,
speak English. Like,
I'm
if you're
gonna say
talking to
yes.
someone who speaks a different language, then
I think even if you're speaking to your family, I think if you're in public in a supermarket, you should speak English. I find it unnerving to walk down the aisle and hear 3 different languages, none of which I understand. I don't like that so much.
it's funny because my son chats to his Chinese grandparents in Mandarin, and I can often
Like in
get
the
a hint at what
supermarket?
he's. No, at their house. Well, whenever he's out with them, he speaks to them in Mandarin.
I feel like in your own house is in your own house. Do what you like. But I do have a sense in public it should be English, just out of respect for the nation that you're in.
I remember hearing about that being the attitude of people immigrating to various Western countries in the past. Like, we have come to this country. We are not whatever anymore. Now we will be American.
Yeah, America was pretty strong about that for quite a while. Most of the immigrants that came there from other countries wouldn't teach their home language to their children. They put them in American schools and they taught them English. And they said,
Yes.
Yes, I may be from India or China or wherever, but you are an American. And you will be an American because I worked my damn ass to get you here because it's better here.
Yeah.
You will be part of here because it's better.
Came here for a reason.
Yeah. I do think it's kind of funny. It's like, oh, we'll go over there because it's better, but we won't respect anything about there, and we'll keep to all of our traditions from the place where it was worse. Okay, sure. Right, to answer the question, are there too many immigrants in New Zealand? I'm going to say yes, but that's not particularly educated. You?
Neutral. So I wouldn't want there to be too many for cultural degradation reasons, as discussed, but at the same time, it's already the way it is in many ways, and it's not something that could be really reversed.
I think that's a good asterisk to put on it. I do not think any deportations should be done.
Yeah, this is more about how many immigrants every year.
Yeah, I would prefer not to have more come in. Or actually, really, I just prefer to be more selective about which immigrants came in, from where. But, call me racist. That's fine. 15. We're almost at halfway through the page that we were supposed to do today. So I think we might stop at halfway because we've actually been running for quite a while.
Yep.
15. I generally earn less than other people in New Zealand.
I think so, yeah. I think I'm below the average.
Yeah, for you, for sure.
Yeah. Single dad on sole parent benefit, yeah.
Yeah, do you count the benefit or do you just count your work?
I would count the benefit.
Okay. If I counted the benefit, then I would say no. What is the question? I generally earn less than other people in New Zealand. I think either way I'd say no. It's just how much I say no.
Yeah, if you take the phrasing as... If you take it as literal, earn less. I definitely earn less than the average.
Yeah, I'm probably about average, but if I take into account benefits, I'm doing pretty well. I do love the tax credit thing in this country. I mean, paid to have kids. It's like, that's really smart. Thank you, government.
Though it doesn't actually increase birth rates. It's good.
I would,
I
I would say that's because the economic conditions are so abhorrent that it would be impossible to have kids without it.
So it's more of, that's a parachute rather than a lift.
Yeah, if we had a great economic situation, then it would be a bonus to boot, and that would be great. Personally, I'd be more in favour of just, like, the amount of money I pay in taxes is the same amount that we get back in family tax credits. It's like, why don't you just not tax me in the first place? But, you know, that's my political thing. I don't think there should be income tax. Put that aside. 16. Politicians in New Zealand can generally be trusted. Well, we talked about that before, so...
Yeah, generally,
I'd say, medium agree.
Yeah, 6 out of 7, yeah.
Yeah, even when they go wrong, it's generally because they're trying to do the thing that they're trying to do, and they're just wrong, not that they're lying.
Yeah, so, arguing about the way forward. Like, there are...
Yeah, like Jacinda's massive blunders. She believed in them and she was very honest about them. I think we could trust her. I just didn't think that she was right. But still, you know, trustworthy. I didn't think she was manipulating or deceiving.
Yeah, like there's one prominent corruption case that comes to mind in the last 10 years. There's probably been a couple more minor ones.
I think I've heard a vague story about it, but it's never anything massive. It's always just sort of lower level stuff. Someone gets caught with their hand in the cookie jar. Oh no.
Yeah. Was it
booted out of Parliament immediately.
Someone doing free painting work that you could say was trade for help with an immigration situation. I think that was it.
Ah, right. No. Okay. 17. Maori have too much political power and influence in New Zealand, or in decisions in New Zealand. Blech. Held that one.
5.
5. Agree, but slightly.
Yeah, because it's the activists that are having the power.
Yeah. I think the co-governance thing is kind of dumb. The idea that we have separate governments and separate elections for the different racial groups is... I have a problem with that.
I think on that whole issue, my stance is I don't know, and I'm not going to go one way or the other because I don't feel educated enough.
I think that's a smart idea. I don't know too much about it, but simply on principles from what I do understand, I don't think that's great. Like, let's have one government and everyone's vote counts the same. From talking to farmers, they very strongly agree. But like you said, that's mostly activists acting on behalf of Maori. Although some of the big tribes abuse their power to gain wealth for themselves and don't give it to any of the members of the tribe. So there's, you know, problems there.
Yeah.
Corruption.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's always corruption when it comes to big money like that.
I think having a distinct voice in the political system has some value, but having this sort of separate political system, so it's one country.
Yeah, like the Maori Party.
Yeah.
That was a thing for my entire childhood. It didn't get enough votes in the most recent and was dissolved, but yeah, they don't need their own government if they want to have a party that's specifically for their own cultural interests. Fair enough. Go for it. That's what the Maori Party was. Then, yeah, I don't see any problem with that. If you want to elect your own representatives to represent you based on your ethnic background and your culture, which I think in this country is actually fair because you're the indigenous people, kind of.
I don't see a problem with the Maori seats. Like, you've got electorates which are divided up by population. This is just some more electorates. They happen to overlap with others.
I don't know enough about that to comment, I think.
Just if you can trace your ancestry... If you can trace Maori ancestry back and choose to be on the Maori electorate roll, then your parliamentary vote is one of those ones, and you vote for one of those electorate seats. No, it wouldn't affect your parliamentary vote.
I don't like that. One system for all. Let's not divide people's votes based on what race they are. I don't like that at all. I see no reason why one ethnic group should be able to put forth their representative positions to the nation's parliament with priority over the other.
I didn't say priority. Like, they're electorate seats.
Why are there separate seats then?
That doesn't mean there's priority.
Different but equal? Really? Separate but equal? Like, you're not going to create...
population. Like, electorate seats are numbered by population in the electorate.
I don't see why it needs to be about race, though. Why does it need to be separate in that way?
I suppose race isn't the right dividing line, it's culture, as in there's the Pākehā and the Māori subcultures, broadly speaking, merging into each other slowly.
But you said in order to be on that other role, you need to be Māori, so it is about race.
Yeah, and it's an imperfect way of separating it.
Yeah, I don't like it. I feel like you should have a vote as a New Zealander, and if you wish to vote your interest, you vote your interest. But I don't think that we should be separating them out based on which background you come from.
Yeah, I don't have strong opinions on it. Anyway, let's move
on. 18. Once a woman gets a man to commit to her, she usually tries to put him on a tight leash.
Generalization.
Well, I think this is the... once woman gets what she wants from man, she makes him subservient to her.
The tight leash.
Yeah. Yeah, that image of a dog on a leash. Once a woman gets a man. A woman.
I would... 5, a tentative agree, because it is a pattern that occurs. But I don't like the generalization.
It does occur, but it is an unhealthy situation.
Yes. And it does in some ways take two to tango.
Yeah, it's to comply.
Yeah, if he doesn't submit to that, then it doesn't work.
Yeah, like early in my relationship, when my wife was struggling with the person she was because of the upbringing she had, there was a bit of that, and I never bowed to any of it, and there was a lot of fights. And I could see a lot of men just cowering and going, I don't want to argue with you or do what you say.
Me, for that whole relationship that I learned a lot from.
Yeah. Well, I was in the same situation as you. I just happened to be 99th percentile for disagreeable. So I was just like, no. No. And then she'd yell at me to leave because I was making her upset, and I'd be like, no, I'm going to sit here and wait for you to cry and then tell me you're sorry, which worked every time.
And that's not pushing her to be a particular way. That's not forcing. It's just...
Well, I was pushing her to be a particular way. And that's to be a healthy and sane person. And not abusive. Damn right I'm pushing my partner to be better than what she is now. That's what a partner should be doing. You push me to be better than I am, I push you to be better than you are. And we hold each other to the mark, and we don't let each other fall down and become worse. Yeah,
I guess that's not what I was trying to say. It was there's a difference between sitting there saying, I'm going to sit here, and trying to actively force your will on someone.
Devil's in the details, yeah.
There are ways of being passively manipulative, true.
I have resistance to making comments about that because I feel it's not a thing that can be generalized.
Yeah.
There's too many individual facets for that balance of power.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. Probably, yes, this does occur. Also, no, other women don't do that. I don't know, maybe neutral. I would say unhealthy women will do that. A sense of wanting to be in control because of a vulnerability or a fear of vulnerability.
Yeah, it's a toxic female behaviour.
Yeah. Yeah. We all have them. Okay, 19. If they knew me, most New Zealanders would respect what I have accomplished in life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'd tick some of the victim boxes. Yeah.
Tick some of the victim boxes. You know what's bad is that I immediately thought of that too. My first answer was like, lol, no. But then I went, if they knew me, like actually knew me, then yeah, probably. Because like the fact that I'm capable of doing literally anything is kind of amazing given my life and mind. So I'm pretty proud of, this and all the kids that are asleep behind that wall.
Yeah.
I don't know how I did it. Alright, we'll go number 20, and I'd say we should stop there, because we've been going for quite a while. I'm going to do lots of parts of these, but I actually quite like this, so yeah, we'll just keep going until it's done, and then we'll go back to doing normal stuff.
Yep.
Number 20. By taking personal action, I believe I can make a positive difference to environmental problems.
It was great until that last couple of words.
Why?
It's not the only issue in town. Mind you, if there are other ones that expand on it in other areas... Okay.
What do you mean? I have no problem with this question at all.
Okay.
That's fascinating, because this is unusual. I did not object to the environmental question, but you did.
It's because environmentalism is politically defined these days has gone toxic.
Yeah. I would argue it always was.
Yeah. Maybe it's just that I came into it from my exposures to it were a less toxic side of it. The sort of, we believe this, therefore we change our lives this way type people. Right? The individual action type environmentalism.
So what's the question?
Okay, I would... Okay, 6 out of 7 for that.
Okay, that's pretty strong agree.
Yeah.
So what was the objection?
It felt like it was referencing the political side of modern environmentalism.
The environmental problems as defined by the political class and the activists, not defined by your personal... Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, and put in LED lights, take cold showers, recycle, and everything will be wonderful if you drive an electric car. It's like, no! It's not that simple.
Okay. I could see other people being insufferable and doing no good based on this question, but I actually just took it as a straightforward and honest question. By taking personal action, I believe I can make a positive difference to environmental problems. Yeah. I don't see anything wrong with that question, and yes, I think I do. Doesn't mean I will. But, if I wanted to, I could. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I've become a bit cynical towards environmentalism.
I guess I took it as a question of, can the individual have an effect on this, or is it something that the state has to do? Like, that's how I interpreted the question. Is the individual action going to make a difference? Sort of in the same way that my vote matters question was. It's like, yeah, I think it does. Not
and I think I'd also...
most important, but I think it does.
I think as you were reading it, I mentally auto-completed it to the state of the world. Like the sort of things we've discussed so many times, and it was environmental issues. Like, oh, I wanted the other one that I auto-completed it to.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel like I need to sort of make a small mention of my environmental stance that... let's just say that that in a census I would put religion as nature spirituality / druid, let's say. So it's like philosophically I'm heavily in that direction, but it's the modern political version is not me.
I think it's worth stating that for you in particular, you also despise those who believe the environmental religion.
Yeah.
While your religion may be environmental based because you are pagan.
Yep.
You are not Gaia worshipping just stop oil protester.
Yeah. Not that category. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm well aware of the complexities of life on Earth, and that there's no simple answers. Anyway.
Well, that was half of our second page. For those watching, we got to here. Out of the rest of that. So that's what we finished 20 out of 39. And then there's what? Another 14 there. Then another 27 there. And a wee fun chart about how much you like different groups. Which will be saved for last. I think that'll be entertaining. There's still a lot of questions in here that are very provocative. Don't answer it. We'll do it next time. But one of the questions. Yeah. Actually, no, I won't. I want to get your reaction live for that one. I won't do that. But we're getting there. Slowly. Still, this has been fun.
Yep.
Oh well, we'll say goodnight. Maybe see you in half a second when it cuts to tomorrow. Or next week, or whatever.
Yep.
Bye. Maybe not. See you in a second.